Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one's going to be for volume 38 of the manga. Really nice cover this time around. Naruto in the background, Sasuke in the front because we focus more on his story for most of this volume. Volume's called Practice Makes Perfect, I think I said that already. And the really nice image on the back actually as well, just everyone doing the kick all in a row. So it's pretty nice there. But this time around, the chapters that we cover are chapters 340 to 349. So another 10-volume chapter. The Perilous Bridge, Practice Makes Perfect, The Black King, Merciless, The Snake, The Ritual, The Secret of the New Jutsu, A Detour, and One Makes Three, The Northern Hideout. So overall, this volume is, I'd say it's pretty good. It kind of ended up being a little bit weird in that the focus on the end of the everyone versus the end of that Akatsuki fight, it's relatively short, and then it just switches to Sasuke with a little bit in between, just kind of aftermath of Naruto's jutsu. It just didn't have the same impact that I felt it did in the anime. I'll get to that when the scene comes around, but the big Rasenshuriken scene didn't really have the same impact that I think it did in the anime. As for the rest of the plot stuff, interesting direction that they take the Rasenshuriken, immediately kind of banning it, basically. You can't use this, Naruto, it's too dangerous for yourself. And then immediately Naruto's just had this huge moment where he is just came in there and defeated an Akatsuki member, and all of a sudden he's like, no, this move that you spent all this time learning, you can't actually use it anymore. And then we could have the Sasuke and what he is doing, and he has a big victory over Orochimaru, and that's kind of a big shocking moment because all of a sudden Sasuke seems to have this plan that we've never known about before, and he's forming a team of his own, and we're just kind of like, wait, what's going on here? He's kind of left everyone behind because he's kind of cutting off all his ties to these people, yet he's purposefully choosing these people to be part of his new team. So what's exactly is going on here? So it's a really interesting setup because you just don't really know what way Sasuke is thinking. But let's get into the volume. So as I said, we start off with the end of the fight. We get the initial. It looks like Naruto's just going to straight away win the fight with Rasenshuriken. The clones work perfectly, and just as the attack is about to hit, it kind of burns out, I think is the way Kakashi describes it. It just kind of loses all its power just before he connects. And we think that's oh, he doesn't have it down just yet. The fight's going to go on for a lot longer. But the way they end up working it out is basically just that Naruto kind of pleads to everyone, this kind of has to be my moment. This is the big thing that I want to do here and prove that I'm at that level. And he kind of appeals to Kakashi, you said I'm the only shinobi who will surpass the 4th Hokage, and you meant what you said, and they agree to kind of support Naruto and let him kind of handle this. So he basically just tries again, but this time, instead of the usual way he kind of does things, where the clones act as a distraction, the one that hangs back is the one that delivers the blow, he does it a little bit differently. He actually hides his real self in with the pack of distractions. And the opponent, obviously, what's his name again? How am I completely forgetting the name of this character? Kakuzu, sorry. Kakuzu completely ignores basically all the decoys this time around, and just targets the Naruto with the Rasenshuriken. And it looks like he's defeated Naruto. But the one with the Rasenshuriken pops, and then out of the decoys, the real Naruto comes in, delivers the Rasenshuriken blow, and basically tears Kakuzu apart. Now, I think part of this is just that the art for the big finishing blow could have been better. I think part of it is that the effect of the Rasenshuriken, as is shown in the anime, is so cool with the sound effect, the kind of buzzsaw sound effect it has going on here, the vibration, the look of it as it's animated. It's really hard to get that across in, just kind of still pictures. But you can sort of see here as it hits, it's kind of quite nice. Where it kind of misses the mark a little bit is that, like, okay, it's a big attack. There's big explosion stuff going on here. It's definitely gets some motion across. It just, knowing this primarily from the anime, it doesn't have the same impact. Like, you can sort of see that it's kind of gradually tearing Kakuzu apart, but it doesn't have the same, like, cutting effect that you can tell that what's happening here, as they explain it later on, is that this is, like, billions of micro cuts that are basically cutting him apart cell by cell. And it's not directly, like, tearing him apart, like, scratch by scratch. The scratches are so small, it doesn't come across like he's even been damaged, but he's taken so many, like, tiny invisible cuts that he's basically been completely torn apart at the, like, cellular level. As is kind of shown when Kakashi says, the number of attacks is almost infinite, even with my Sharingan I couldn't keep up. And we see the giant hole it leaves in the ground, and it gets across the power of the attack. It's just doesn't make it clear exactly until much later on what exactly has just, like, happened, basically. But yeah, it doesn't kill Kakuzu. It basically has defeated him to the point where he's helpless on the ground. But Naruto is left on the ground as well, kind of somewhat injured from his own attack. And what happens is that Kakashi comes over and finishes Kakuzu off. After a brief kind of moment of just reflecting on the fact that the youth are kind of surpassing the next generation. Kakashi says, one by one, the new generation will catch up to you and they will all surpass you in the end, as he kind of finishes off the fight. We cut away then to an interesting scene with Shikamaru kind of returning back to the village, and he goes over to Kurenai and they talk about Asuma. You know, she kind of mentions, you know, like, the death of Asuma must be really affecting you too. You were kind of his favourite, and you've always played shogi together. He always talked about you, and it's an interesting one because obviously the first explanation of how smart Shikamaru was actually came from Asuma and Kurenai talking during the tuning exam. So obviously their relationship must have kind of in some ways started there, and then, you know, it's been a constant conversation topic between the two of them. And he basically just says that, you know, he taught me a bunch of other things, some more important than others. Shogi was one of them. If I didn't miss him, I'd be lying. I'm not a kid anymore and expected to be at my age. I can't do the self-pitying thing. And he just says, you know, he was a terrific role model to me. Now it's my turn. And he says, when that baby arrives, it'll be my turn as guardian and master. I've got some real growing up to do. And it's just it's a nice moment as kind of Shikamaru prepares to take on this role as the master to the next generation that's coming along with Kurenai's child. So, kind of interesting kind of what they're doing here. Like, Kakashi has literally just said something about the next generation surpassing, and here's the next generation almost about to move on to the point where they are now the masters for the next generation. And we see that Shikamaru then starts to play shogi with his father, but his father is an excellent shogi player and actually beats Shikamaru here. But during this game, we get the whole idea of the pieces, what they represent again. And we finally get the reveal that the Black King, the king piece, represents the children who will carry Konoha on their shoulders. So that's what Asuma was referring to all those volumes ago, that the main thing to protect always is the children, the next generation that will continue things. It isn't the Hokage. The Hokage actually protects the king, helps to protect the children as well. So that's interesting. But then, like, almost randomly, like, it's kind of quite, like, sudden how it happens in the anime, and equally as sudden here. We just turn the page and, like, immediately shift focus to Sasuke. We cut back to Naruto and what's happening there, of course, a little bit. But the focus of the story has now shifted to Sasuke. We see he's just defeated a ton of shinobi without taking any damage. He hasn't killed them. And Orochimaru notes that, like, you don't seem to have the... what's the word that he says? You don't have the... So long as you have mercy, you cannot best Itachi. And Sasuke's point is just like, I'm not trying to kill them. I don't need to kill them. There's only one person I actually want to kill, and that is Itachi. And when it comes to him, I won't have any mercy. And it's an interesting idea that, like, Sasuke just pointing out the fact, like, why does me not killing these guys have to do with the person I actually do want to kill? These are just random people you had me fight. This other person I do want to kill, I have reasons for wanting to do that, and they will make me do it. So it's an interesting point. And Orochimaru just notes that, you know, like, they called me a genius, but this kid, he's beyond that. And you can tell that that he's at the point now where he just wants to wait a little bit longer before stealing Sasuke's body, and that's his whole plan, as we've known for a while. We do, at this point, cut back to the Leaf Village, and we see that Naruto's entire right arm basically is in a sling. He can't use it, he's still recovering, and we get this whole idea that Sakura, healing him initially on the scene, has basically just said, only use this jutsu as a last resort. This has done a ton of damage to yourself. And we're getting across, gradually building up to the whole idea of, like, medical ninjutsu, like, it seems like it's just this thing where, like, if you get an injury in time, you can just heal it and just keep doing that. And it's kind of beginning to point out that there is a limit to medical ninjutsu. It's not just, like, Bleach or Hime style healing, where you can basically heal anything, regardless of what it is. This is, like, there's a limit to how much you can heal. You can't just keep using this jutsu and me heal you. We eventually get explained later on that basically medical ninjutsu kind of increases cell regeneration, and there's a set amount of kind of cell regeneration that the human body can actually do. So that's the kind of hard limit on it. And basically Naruto's just kind of really positive about this. You know, he feels that they're finally on the road to getting Sasuke back now that he has his new jutsu. Sakura is like an amazing healer and has all these great kind of support techniques. And we just get some jokes here. Sai feeds Naruto while he can't use his good arm, and kind of stuff like that. Kakashi comes in and kind of, like, basically says that the reason I'm up and active is because you finished the fight. Otherwise, I probably would have had to use Mangekyo Sharingan and basically nearly killed myself to win that fight. And he just kind of highlights this idea: the more profound the jutsu, the riskier it is to wield. Remember that. And we eventually do cut back to this scene, and we basically get the idea that Tsunade has analyzed Kakuzu's body and has found out that basically, okay, how the Rasenshuriken works is that it cuts on a cellular level. It does basically an infinite number of cuts, cutting you apart at the cellular level, and that's what it does. The body is effectively left perfectly fine, but at a cellular level there are like millions of cuts all over you, and that's how it works. The problem is that it also cuts apart chakra network, and the effect on Naruto's arm is in essence the same as actually hitting someone with the jutsu. That his arm is fine for now; they can heal it. But if he keeps using this over and over again, maybe even once more, if he kind of uses it, they're kind of implying he could never, you know, use chakra again using that arm, and eventually it will spread to the rest of his body. Because Sakura does mention that he's basically broken kind of bones, like more or less all across his body, just doing this. So kind of really interesting here, and they kind of just have to break this news to Naruto that he's kind of not allowed to use it. And the way they kind of do it is just that Naruto is kind of remaining positive. He's kind of not letting anyone tell him that he can't use it, but it's this idea that he does need to kind of come up with some techniques that he can use without kind of killing himself, in essence. But that's the kind of that side of the story kind of resolved. What happens next is we basically cut back to the hideout. Orochimaru is, you can tell his body is on the verge of kind of shutting down now. He needs to switch soon. Kabuto is keeping it going using the kind of, he has great 10 medicines. Then out of nowhere, just through the door, giant kind of lightning blade comes through, pierces Orochimaru's arms, and Sasuke has decided that he's learned enough from Orochimaru, he can't teach him anymore, and he's going to take out Orochimaru and do things on his own. The interesting thing immediately with this is that Sasuke the entire time to Naruto has kind of said, I don't care if Orochimaru takes over my body, as long as he teaches me enough and allows me to kill Itachi, I don't care what happens after that. That he was okay with basically everything being over after that. But clearly here he has other plans. He thinks he's now above Orochimaru, but it kind of implies here throughout the rest of this that he doesn't feel that he's quite strong enough just yet to face Itachi. And I suppose to some extent, him proving himself able to beat Orochimaru brings him closer to beating Itachi, is kind of the idea they're going for here. And he kind of gives his true thoughts on Orochimaru here. He says, filling yourself up with medicines, leaping from body to body, and the way you covet the power of the Uchiha, it's revolting. And basically just this idea that Sasuke doesn't really care about like living forever or anything like that in the same way that Orochimaru does. He actually finds that whole quest like revolting, as he says, that he just sees Orochimaru kind of desperate to get the power of the Sharingan and the Uchiha. And yeah, the fight is, relatively one-sided. It's just kind of Sasuke beating down Orochimaru, Orochimaru constantly escaping using his kind of snake jutsu. We do get the reveal of kind of, I suppose, it's always been the thing, like, okay, given that Orochimaru keeps switching bodies, what is kind of left of him? What actually is Orochimaru outside of just the, his soul existing in other people's bodies? And we get the idea that what Orochimaru's physical being, what's left of it, it's basically this snake thing. It's this great white snake that he can kind of keep regenerating out of people, and that's what he has become after all these experiments, that this is the best kind of form he can take to make it so that he doesn't kind of kill himself, constantly switching bodies and using that ritual. And Orochi, basically just Sasuke gets the advantage. He goes into his second stage curse mark release, the whole Hawk Sasuke kind of bit from the end of the last fight with Naruto. He uses this, and we get a brief flashback about Orochimaru with Hiruzen Sarutobi, with the whole idea that he finds this skin of a white snake, and it's this lucky symbol that symbolizes good luck and renewal, and to some extent Orochimaru has taken this on throughout his entire life, the whole idea of renewal, that the form of the white snake is this kind of good luck charm for him. And we see here, this is the moment when all of that has failed. He's managed to live this long by switching bodies all the time, but finally the white snake is kind of falling. And basically, as Sasuke chops up what's left of Orochimaru's body, he activates basically the ritual to switch bodies. And we see basically he takes Sasuke into his kind of universe inside of him. I suppose basically like we sort of see with the inside of Naruto's world where Kurama is. We see that for Sasuke and Orochimaru, and it's very different. Obviously, it's kind of bubbling. It's very kind of grotesque compared to Naruto's one, which is fairly more basic and solid. But yeah, it's just with this idea, this snake goo is kind of gradually covering Sasuke, and once it takes over him, Orochimaru will have control over Sasuke's body, and he'll have exactly what he wanted. But it's at this point we get a flashback to Orochimaru during his time with the Akatsuki, and an encounter he had with Itachi, where he obviously went to kill Itachi and take his body, but Itachi just effortlessly kind of paralyzed him with genjutsu, and then just completely kind of owned him in this kind of fight, saying, my eyes can see through your jutsu. And finally he thinks he's getting the body he wants with Sasuke, but Sasuke has control. And it's an interesting way they reveal it, in that they cut to Kabuto realizing what's going on. He walks into the room, and Sasuke is just there, and he's kind of like, okay, clearly the transference ritual has happened, but who's in control of Sasuke's body? Is it Sasuke or is it Orochimaru? He doesn't really know. And it quickly becomes very apparent when the Sharingan activates, and basically he shows Kabuto what just happened, and Sasuke has managed to overtake Orochimaru. So in essence, he's turned the same jutsu around on Orochimaru, and he hasn't killed Orochimaru, but he's absorbed basically everything about Orochimaru. And he sees this as the way to kind of get the advantage over Itachi. That his own powers are strong, but if he has that plus these powers that Orochimaru has, then that might give him the boost he needs to take out Itachi. So, interesting kind of stuff happening straight away here. This is where that other scene with Tsunade happens, and it's only a quick one. But after that, the rest of it is just him forming his new team. he goes to one of the hideouts and gets Suigetsu, who is this kind of guy who seems to be made of water. He's somewhat related to the Seven Ninja Swordsmen. We see them go and get the Executioner's Blade from where they kind of took out Zabuza. So that's the sword that Suigetsu now holds. They then go to one of the other hideouts and grab Karin, who is... Well, I think I have these listed here. Let me show them quickly. Oh, wait, actually, I completely forgot about this scene. I did have it marked. After they introduce Suigetsu, who is here... Pretty interesting. We have this brief scene as they walk out of the noodle shop, the ramen shop, and Konohamaru is waiting there. And he shows Naruto his new jutsu. It's a kind of sexy jutsu using two girls. And I'll show you what happens here is that it obviously embarrasses everyone. Sakura gets really annoyed with Konohamaru doing this in front of her and gives out to her. She gives out to Naruto for basically being a bad influence on Konohamaru because she knows that Naruto uses those jutsu. Konohamaru then switches the jutsu to being the kind of male version of it. So he basically makes naked versions of Sasuke and Sai on top, doing the whole duo pose, and this makes Sakura kind of nosebleed, and she inadvertently says admits that it's her fantasy seeing this, and kind of we just get this kind of oh, everyone in the Naruto universe is a pervert if you do the right person kind of type thing. I don't remember that scene. I don't think that was even in the anime. I don't think they did that, which made the Kaguya fight obviously in the anime a little bit more kind of interesting. That was the first time Naruto used the kind of reverse harem jutsu. So this is obviously Naruto's inspiration for, oh, I can use this on girls by using guys as the kind of sexy jutsu. So I like that as the kind of root of that idea. But yeah, we get introduced to Karin, who seems to have... They say she has a special power, but we don't know what it is just yet. She's one of the wardens at one of Orochimaru's hideouts. And then they finally move on to... they go to get Jugo, who is established to be this guy who has this kind of temper, this urge to slaughter people, and he can barely keep it under control. And he constantly is talking to himself, like, the next person that walks into my room, I will kill them. If they're a man, if they're a woman, and he keeps going back and forth. The kind of cliffhanger ending is that, like, if it's a woman that walks into a room, I'll kill them. And Sasuke is basically just about to walk in. In addition to that, the big reveal that we get is that Jugo is the one where the curse mark originates from. So Orochimaru experimented on Jugo in terms of what his powers are, kind of being able to do the curse mark thing, basically. And that is the reason why Orochimaru uses the curse mark. And it's why Sasuke has the power that he does. It's all because of Jugo. So, interesting explanation for this power that was revealed so kind of early on in the series. And just setting up this idea that Sasuke is potentially walking into another fight and to get this guy that he wants on his team. The interesting thing is that we don't really know why he's forming this team. Clearly, he's kind of moving towards the idea of fighting Itachi, like, fairly soon, but we don't know exactly at this point what his plan is, and that, okay, he's taken out Orochimaru, he's become a little bit more powerful because he absorbed Orochimaru and kind of in essence has his powers. In beating Orochimaru, obviously has proven that how powerful he is, and is now forming a team for some reason, which I think is one of the last things you'd expect from Sasuke at this point in time, to actively form a team when he's usually been talking about how, like, the bonds about people are not important. But what they seem to establish here is that he's kind of using them. He's more interested in just like, you guys have unique powers that I could use, but we don't know exactly what they are just yet. What he does do in all the hideouts, though, is that he basically frees everyone and has Suigetsu say that, like, Sasuke is leading the way towards peace kind of type thing. So he's planning something, we don't know what it is just yet, and it's a big contrast. Like, his plans are working, his team is forming, and everything's going great for him. Naruto was on that path, having learned Rasenshuriken, but now is basically, he can't use it anymore effectively, unless it's a complete last resort thing, he's about to be killed, because it's just so dangerous to him. So it's almost a jutsu that is useless because he has to wait until he's basically dead to use it. So Naruto has some work to do still to kind of work on that. So, interesting position that Naruto just about gets there, but then has a kind of setback, whereas Sasuke just continues to go from strength to strength. So, interesting position to put the characters in. But yeah, it's been the video. I'll just end by saying I'll try to get these out more regularly. Obviously, the last couple of weeks there's been a lot of Avatar books released, and I was focusing on that and the build up to New York Comic Con and all the Avatar news that came out. But now I should be able to focus more on doing Avatar weekly discussion topic videos and stuff like that. But just going to end the video there. So thanks for watching, and bye.